Very punctual.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Looking forward to it. I always like your interviews, so it's a pleasure to be able to do it with you.
Oh yeah, and when you first said that too, it's like that means so much to me that you actually checked out my interviews, actually, let alone enjoying them. So yeah, I mean, this is truly an honor because this is one I've wanted to do for a very long time.
Oh, cool. Cool, man. Yeah, I do. I consume a lot of online metal media, and you're definitely always a stop, and you always get good catches too, and you get people who are sometimes out of the ordinary, which I like.
Oh yeah, that's always my style too, because I love being able to show off all these different sides. I mean, there's obviously some of them that you always want to be able to help try to promote, like bigger names, smaller names, but when you can get them outside the box too, like out of the ordinary ones, I mean, that always freshens things up.
Yeah, I think it's great. It also exposes people to, it also exposes people to different things that they might not have been exposed to. It's like, oh, you know what? That guy's pretty cool, man. I got to check out that band. And it might be something out of their out of a average viewer's comfort zone or whatever. And they might discover something new, which is I think an important part of what people like you do.
Well, again, that truly means a lot to hear that, and I truly do appreciate that. And
oh, no problem.
Yeah, and that's another reason, again, why I do love what you do so much in Eternal Bleeding, because, it's just like when you go between albums, you go between releases, you can see that it's a band that's just passionate about the music that you make, and, you're not, like, trying to make anything, just that's not authentic. I mean, every album that comes out, I mean, it just has this authenticity behind it, where if there's a brutal riff, it's there for a reason. If you have more of a melodic riff that's going on, there's a reason why it's there, and it's always a fun listen to every time that there's a new release to come out.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, man, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be 52 years old and still doing this if I wasn't 100% passionate about it. I mean, I've been a metalhead since I was 4 freaking years old, since 1972, and it's just, it never left me, and I don't think it ever will. I don't know if I can be playing this at 70 or 75. I might have to slow down a little bit, but if my body stays intact, I'm going to keep going as long as I can, because I wish I could do it for a living.
Oh, totally. And when that time comes, when it comes up on age like that, maybe Eternal Bleeding will just become more of a doom metal band than it will a death metal band.
It might have to, because I already got arthritis in the wrist and the elbow and the shoulder. So I don't know how much more time I have being able to play fast, do super fast down picking and everything. I'm still holding on though, so I do a lot. I do a lot of exercise. I try to write, I stretch, and do all that crap. So I'm trying to ward off old age as best as possible.
Oh, absolutely. And musically, it's so great to hear all of that's still going on too. And just like a couple years ago now, coming up this year, Corrupting Influence was out last, and that was a great album to end the last decade on. I mean, I just it felt like such a great album to come out at the time. And how are you feeling about it now?
Looking back on it, I have to say I'm pretty, it's one of the few albums that I did where I wasn't filled with, oh damn, I should have done this, oh damn, I should have done that, oh damn, we should have. I think me and my other guitarist, Chris McCarthy, we were just talking the other day, about the album, and Chris only had like one minor little regret about the album. He's like, oh, you could have done this harmonic better, and I have none. I think the only thing I said, I think I wish I pushed and this is minor. Well, it's major, but it's minor, because I look back on it and it's not a big deal. I wish I pushed some of the more like experimental bluesy riffs a little more that I threw in on the album, which I think meshed really well with what we were doing, and I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and I think we could have done a little more, and I think some critics were right when they said, the experimentation with that stuff is great, there should have been more of it. I kind of agree with it, but it's a minor, I don't regret it, because I think the album's probably our best album, so.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that as well. I mean, I do think it's the best Eternal Bleeding album to date, and I do love that experimentation behind it, because especially when you don't see it coming for the first time, and you start hearing that the blues riffs, the blues soloing that's starting to come in there. I mean, it's such a contrast, but it works so well together. And whether it's ending a song, whether it's in the middle, I mean, it just it fits so well together, and it really makes the song stand out. And it's such a cool thing to see that.
Yeah, I always knew it. I always knew it would. I always knew it would, because I mean, look, the roots of the roots of heavy metal is blues. I mean, Black Sabbath was a blues band. I mean, that's where they started, and their first album is heavily blues and jazz, and it's just the riffs are great and they're heavy. So why can't it all work together? And nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing bluesy guitar solos in death metal. And I admire shredders, and I love the way shredders play, and I can do some shredding, but it's not what I want to do. I want to do these soaring, bluesy 70s kind of guitar solos, because I think the contrast in the music is great. You know what I'm saying? It's all about light and shade and contrast. So I think that adds a lot of contrast. So we're gonna ramp that up a little more on the next album. So I'm very excited for. I'm really feeling confident. There's always a tough balancing game though, because you don't want to lose your core sound. And so it's always important to always question, okay, is this too much? Is this, you gotta really, I try to be like a guardian of the sound, and make sure that the sound is expanding but not being destroyed,
Oh yeah, it's such a fine art being able to find that balance to where you're going to be happy with the music and the fan base is also going to be happy with the music too, and you never know which way it's going to go. And it's such an important thing to always go with where your heart and soul are going into the music. And again, with Corrupting Influence, I mean, I love the fact that you did experiment with it. You love the way that it turned out, and you want to be able to dabble with that more in the next record.
Right. And also, I take the approach of the the adage that, and this is how I look at it with the fans. The old adage that you can put a frog in water, and you turn on the temperature, and he doesn't know he's being boiled to death. That's kind of how I look at it with the fans. You don't want to hit the fans with you come out with an album that's 180 degrees from where you were, but you bring the fans along, and you dip your toe in the water along with the fans and say, hey, here's some new kind of stuff. What do you think? It's not a lot. What do you think? Should there be more? I think that's you can't, as an artist or a performer, you can always be like the iconoclastic, screw everybody, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, blah blah blah. But I mean, part of that, that's part of me. But there's another part that one of the most important parts of this band is the fans. They're a huge part of this band. They're the sixth member of the band is the fans. So you have to bring them along on the journey along, as well as instead of throwing something in their face that's 180 degrees from where you were. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm wording it correctly, but it's like you want to bring everybody along together.
Oh, totally. I completely get that. And especially when you are known for such a sound that you were able to patent into your own sound. I mean, you want to be able to at least still have traces of that. I mean, whether someone jumped on board with the first album or the latest album, you want them to still be able to know that they're listening to an Eternal Bleeding album.
Exactly. And I think most people can look back on our catalog and say every album sounds like Internal Bleeding, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you come up with a pure blues honky-tonk kind of album, and then maybe throw in some kind of death metal riff in there once in a while, doing the exact 180 of what you did with the latest album, I mean, that would throw a lot of people off. But
right, and it should be called a different band if you did that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, it's I absolutely trust you guys to be able to have that fine art of what you're doing and being able to know what's going to fit in the band and what's not going to fit in the band.
Yeah, I think we got a good handle on it. We have a lot of passionate, we have a lot of, it's very interesting. We have a lot of different age groups in the band. I obviously being the oldest. And then there's Chris McCarthy, who's the next oldest. So he's so I'm a 70s guy. Chris McCarthy is like a 90s guy, and then we have Ryan, our bass player, who is a 2000s guy. So and then Kyle, who's borders, I guess, on the 90s. and the early 2000s. So everybody's got a different outlook on music, which is really cool, because we all have different ideas and come at the music a little bit different because of our time frame references are different, and somehow it works, I don't know how, but somehow we managed to make it work.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always some kind of like influence that you're able to gel together with, or just the musical chemistry, being able to play live or write music together, or whatever the case is. And it goes to show that not everyone in the band has to have the exact same influences to create great music together.
No, and as long as everybody is focused on the final product and not their ego, then everything will progress. But if there's been plenty of riffs where my teammate Chris McCarthy has written, and they're kind of foreign to me because it's not necessarily from my time reference. And I could quash it because I'm the head of the band, but I have an open mind, and I said, "This is a good riff, Chris. You sure?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, let's roll with it." And being able to adapt and not having an ego about things and not being a prima donna about things, it goes a long way, man. And I'm so happy that almost every incarnation of this band, and we've been through a million band members, there's never been any prima donna type person in the band ever, which is great. Nobody's ever had egos, and it's always been about internal bleeding, and that's the most important thing. It's more important than one individual member.
Oh yeah, and it is that kind of band where the collective is more important than the individual, and I'm glad to see that vision continues to keep happening. I mean, whether it's on the debut, whether it's on the latest album, everything that's going to be coming up in the future, and just like you said with every lineup, it's just like, obviously there's differences and influences and different people involved, and that's always going to make for different kinds of albums, but when you're always looking towards the greater good of making the band sound the best that it can without the egotism that goes along with it, you're going to make some killer music, and I'm glad to see throughout the entire band that you have been able to do that.
I'm really thankful. I take no bullshit with that. If somebody starts acting like a prima donna, they're pretty much out of the band immediately. So, because people like that get to be awful on the road. When you're on the road and there's a prima donna in the bunch, it's effing horrible.
Oh, it really is. And, whether you're touring with someone like that, whether you're opening for someone like that, whether you got to deal with management that's like that, I mean, egotism just can ruin the musical experience so much.
Oh, yeah, and it just ruins. I don't get it. And there's a couple of people who shall be nameless who were in big bands that I'm kind of happy to see that that their bands are now floundering, because when we were coming up and they were big bands, they acted like such fucking prima donnas, So it's a little bit of they have to suck ass now to get back to where they were, and it's nice to see that they've been humbled a little bit. So. I'm always about being, you can ask anybody who knows me. I have no airs about me. I just love this music, and that's all it's about. And it's about the music and the fans and the friendships I've gained over the past 28 years, Another person like that is Terrence Hobbs from Suffocation. He's the coolest, most down-to-earth guy in the world, man. More people need to be like that, and I think everything would be wonderful. Put it all aside and just love the music.
Oh yeah, I think there's just so much importance that should be there when it comes into the integrity of being a good person on the road, in the studio, in the band, and being able to be that face of the band as well too. And yeah, just like you said, it's just like when you start having the prima donna attitude, when you start having an inflated ego because a song starts to pick up and it starts getting notoriety. I mean, as soon as that happens, the band starts to fall, and they might not realize it for a while, but it will hit them so hard. And that's another reason why, again, I love Eternal Bleeding so much, is because you can hear that integrity all the way throughout. And, no matter if a song becomes like an instant classic, whether it becomes a B-side, whether it becomes a live staple, whatever the case is, you never let any popularity of the band get to you, and you just continue to try to make the best music possible.
Right, and treat the fans with the greatest respect possible, and give as much of ourselves personally to the fans as possible. I think we're a very accessible band as far as everything is concerned, you know. I mean, we're not a huge band, but we're bigger than like your regular underground band. I mean, we're above that, you know. But I think that we for a band of our size, I think we're more accessible than most bands. You know, we're very accessible, and it's always got to be that way, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime that someone finds out that you guys are going to be playing a festival or you're going to be doing some touring or anything like that, I mean, it's always excitement when that happens. And, you know, with it not being a full-time job, obviously, and not being able to be on the road 50 weeks a year or whatever the case is, it makes those shows so much more important and so much more fun to be able to do when you are able to go out there, because you're able to appreciate it that much more.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that. You know, this could very well be a job. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not, because it's not my living, so it's not a job. So, you know, I'm sure there's musicians, and believe me, you know, I'm sitting there because I'm not in that position. I'm sitting there saying, I wish that was my lifestyle. I wish that was my lifestyle. But I bet some of them think, Jesus, this is just a job, you know? So in a way, thinking about it, I guess we're kind of lucky because it's not a job.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're in that very inspirational level where you can write the music that you want to play. You got that level of notoriety where people from all over want to be able to see you guys live, and you're still able to keep that integrity about you, where you feel like you don't have to write music that you don't want to write just to make people happy, to make sure that you can pay the mortgage, whatever the case is.
Right, exactly. You know, so it's you know, kind of a best of both worlds situation. You know, sure, I would love to do it as a living. I mean, I would have rather have been doing it for a living 20 years ago when I could walk and live cramped up in a van for a month, which is hard for me to do now. But I'm happy where I am. You know, I would like to see the band get bigger, of course, because I believe it should be. But you know, I'm happy where I am. I'm you know, I hate to use the cliche, but I feel blessed. I mean, I'm healthy. I have a great band, I have great bandmates. I have a great family life. I own a business that is fairly successful, and even during this crisis of COVID-19, I'm still rolling in with business. You know, so I mean, I count myself as a fortunate person.
Yeah, and it's so great to see that too. I mean, when you're able to have that work life, that family life, that music life, and you're able to find that right balance where you can have that kind of life where you're able to enjoy all of it. I mean, that is such a great place to be in.
Oh yeah, it is, and it took a lot of work to get there, though. I mean, it's not like it just happened. I spent a lot of time. You know, I quit a very, very high-paying job in New York City as a creative director for an ad agency. You know, I was rolling in money. You know, I quit that. I started my own business because I was working 90 hours a week doing advertising, and I wanted to still play music. You know, and I sucked wind for a bunch of years. You know, I sold everything I owned to keep my business afloat. You know, I think some people never understand that the risk a small business owner takes to start a business. You know, I mean, I was piss poor living in a two-bedroom house that I had just bought when I quit my job, which was dumb. But and I literally for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, I lived in a two-bedroom house that all that was in the house was a mattress, a television, and like a computer, and that was it. No furniture, nothing, because I had no money. I was selling all my personal possessions because I refused to go back to a job. And then, you know, through hard work and determination and a bunch of luck, I made it to the other side. And, you know, 15 years later, here I am. I'm able to pay a mortgage and support a family and go on tour and work from the road and make money with my business while I'm on the road. You know, like I said, I'm very fortunate, but it takes a lot. It took a lot of work and took a lot of tough decisions. You know, it probably ruined friendships. It probably ruined relationships. But I don't know. I was singularly focused on getting to the point where I am now in life. You know, and so there's a bit of satisfaction that I'm actually there. You know.
And you did it yourself, too. I mean, you were able to invest in yourself, and it did take a while, but the fact that it did pay off in the end, where you are able to work from the road, when you are able to play shows, when you're able to have the family life, where you're able to do all these different sides because you invested in yourself, when you could have been unhappy working 90 hours a week doing advertising where you got enough money, but you'd be so unhappy in other aspects that you just decided to, you know, established that you want to be able to enjoy more than life than just work. And the fact that it did pay off through all of these means, and you are where you are now, I mean, that's such a thing to be inspired by.
I you know what, I hope it is. I tell a lot of people, because a lot of people ask me about this stuff, They're like, wow, man, you have it all figured out and this and that. You know what the biggest thing that holds people back is fear. I think the individual, even if they're hobbled with everybody's hobbled with shortcomings. We're human. Nobody's perfect. You know what I'm saying? But if you get rid of fear somehow, or not get rid of it, because you can never get rid of fear, but if you learn to stare at it in the fucking face and say, yeah, you're going to try to get me to stop, but I'm just going to push through no matter how painful it is. And it's hard to do, but if you do it, I think that the potential for individuals is huge, and fear is what holds them back.
Yeah, and it's such a great way to look at it as well, too, because fear does hold so many people back, and you can control people with fear. You can establish fear into so many people to be able to train them to do different things, and especially if you're in a competing field, if you put fear into the minds of other people, they're going to back off and not want to be a part of it if they don't believe in themselves enough. But when you're able to tackle that fear, when you're able to... Yeah, anytime that fear comes up, you're able to rise above it rather than let that fear control you. You are able to accomplish great things. And again, it's just amazing to see where you're at right now because you overcame that fear.
Yeah, and it was bad. And I'm in nowhere. I don't have any kind of major anxiety or depression or anything like that. So I'm lucky in that respect, But I was afraid. I was giving up a lot, and I was really afraid. And my dad, may he rest in peace, and my mother both were like. They told me. Now, my mother and father were both very successful business people. My father was president of a lamp manufacturing company. My mother was one of the first female managers of the Bloomingdale's department store in their history. She was a female manager before females were ever executives. And my mother looked at me one day and she said to me, she's like, never work for someone else. You'll be a slave all your life. And this is coming from a woman who was extremely successful at the top of her field. And her biggest regret was that she worked for somebody. And I took that to heart, I mean, I really took that to heart. My mother was she's still alive, barely, but one tough woman. And she taught me she taught me how to conquer my fear, because I looked at her and saw that her fear of giving up the good job stopped her, and I couldn't do it.
Oh. That's just absolutely amazing. I mean, considering where your mother was at the time, and just being able to have that sense about her, and yeah, it is so much about being able to establish yourself, being able to find what's going to make you happy, and being able to bet on yourself as well. And that's exactly why I do what I do as well. I mean, I could be working for some other kind of metal publication and working underneath someone, but I decided to bet on myself after so many years of trying different things, and as soon as I started working for myself, so many more opportunities were able to come.
Exactly, dude. Yeah. Exactly, brother. You got it. That's it. I mean, that's what happens because your real passion. You've got your real passion, and it's out in the open, and it's like a magnet. People are attracted to people who are genuine and are doing things themselves, and I don't know about bucking convention, whatever. If that's the thing, bucking convention, people are attracted to that, and it brings success. People, look, both you and I, we're not millionaires or anything like that, but we're both doing well in the fields that we love, and one of the reasons we do that is because people see it, because you're unshackled from the constraints of a music industry publication who says, hey, don't ask those questions, or make sure you ask this question. You just go and everything flows. Look at this conversation we're having. It's great. I love it. I'm sitting out here smoking a cigar, drinking some bourbon, and it's like I'm talking to my best friend and we never talked on the phone before.
Exactly. And if I tried to make this so much dirt filled or clickbaity, and I make the title of like you won't believe what Chris from Eternal Bleeding has to say about ... and trying to do it that way, it would just feel so absolutely hollow to me. I'm so much more about having these real conversations, and just having some authenticity behind it, because that's the kind of person I try to be in real life as well too. That like, this is me. It's not me putting on any kind of persona or anything. Like if this was in person and the recorder was off, I'd be acting the same way that I am now, and that's exactly how I want to be able to show off anyone that I talk to, show that they're real human beings, that they're making music that I enjoy and other people might enjoy it as well.
That's awesome. I mean, look, I think, you know what, I want to get to know the artist. I don't want to hear look, we all get into that. I'm not going to deny I don't like looking at clickbait and seeing some dirt on, this band or that band or whatever. I don't deny that I don't find it funny or interesting. But what I like is if there's a band I really like and somebody's asking really good questions and you get to know the artist, from almost a personal level, and I think you bring that out in your interviews, which I think is great. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, because it's just you're like you said, you're a genuine guy, and they're hard to find.
Well, again, thank you so very much for hearing that. I mean, it's awesome to see that it does translate to anyone checking it out. I mean, whether I'm interviewing you or you're listening to another interview, I'm glad that it does translate that way, because that's exactly the way I want it to be able to come off as well too. And I mean, I'm not saying I don't go to Blabbermouth and I see those headlines and look at it.
We all do. We all do.
Yeah, and they've done it with my work too. Like when I do a 50-minute long interview, and then all of a sudden I see a headline is all about one sentence about one subject that we talk about, and all the comments are only about that one sentence that they're reading in the headline, rather than actually checking out the interview. I mean, we all do it.
Right? Yeah, we do. We do. You know what I think is really cool? Because of this whole virus thing that's going on, like we're doing a long format interview. I've been consuming a lot of media lately because I'm home working. I consume a lot of media because my office is in my house. So, but I think for you, this time period is ideal for you, because people are looking for stuff to put on and listen to for 45 minutes and an hour to pass the time. And what better way to get? And I'm not saying it's me. I'm just saying, what better way to pass the time than to get to know an artist that you like, And I'm not saying it's me, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying any guy you interview, somebody could be like, oh man, I always liked that band. It's cool. I'm listening to this guy for 45 minutes. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and again, that's always the way that I try to approach it as well. I mean, obviously sometimes there's time constraints, especially when there's press days and stuff like that. I imagine with the next Eternal Bleeding album, that's going to be happening as well too, when that eventually happens. But when you're able to have time to be able to have that real conversation and just go deeper than just like what was the influences of the album, what was it like making the album. I mean, when you're able to go deeper in that and just like find out all these great other details, you're able to appreciate the music that much more, because you're starting to get more of that insight of how it was actually made.
Right. It's actually what I would say, maybe like it's three-dimensional, correct? It's more of a three-dimensional view than a standard format, what was your influences for this album? And then there's no follow-up question, or there's no discussion after that, So I think that the open format like this is, like, I loved your Black Dahlia murder interview. That was great.
Thank you.
Especially because it sounded like he was on the road and you heard the ambulances in the background and all that stuff. I thought that was just so cool. It's just like, I don't know. I got a real kick out of it because it was really genuine,
Oh, totally. Yeah. And, I probably could have found a way to be able to edit that out, or, just like cut that whole part and then, start the interview from later on. But I wanted to keep that because, it does have that authentic feel behind it. And
yeah, that's the part that made it fun. It was like, I'm sitting there. It's like, back in the old days, and this real old days, not the days when I was young, but, when my dad was young, radio and spoken spoken word was theater of the mind. So, I'm sitting listening to this interview. I hear sirens going on in the background, and what I'm imagining, what Trev is on the phone, and what's going on around him while he's on the phone. What my head is putting, there's bodies everywhere, ambulances showing. I built up this whole thing in my head, and it was great. I don't know. I just thought it was really neat.
And you're able to appreciate it on more than one side too, because I'm sure you've been in situations where you've done interviews like that where there's some things going on in the background, and you're able to listen to it from the audience point of view, just like you pointed out, and you're able to imagine the situation that he was going through.
Yeah, or you just use your imagination and you go off like I did. I was imagining bodies piled up all over the places, ambulances showing up carrying bodies away. I mean, it is death metal, so that's what I was thinking of, and I got a big kick out of it because my imagination just ran off into outer space or wherever. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of theater of the mind kind of thing, which was neat.
Oh yeah, and that can be such great inspiration for life too. I mean, whether that impacts your life in any way or you're able to just get a few minutes of enjoyment thinking about all of that. I mean, anything that can bring a smile to your face, make you think differently, make you think more creatively, whatever the case is. I mean, when you're able to do that more in life rather than just worrying about stress and the struggles of life, I mean, I always find that to be such a great thing when you're able to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the imagination's great, and if you just let yourself go and just let your imagination run, especially when things like interviews where there's stuff going on in the background, and I mean, you can just use your imagination and just imagine funny situations or imagine serious situations, or you can bring the whole thing to life in your head, and I think that's I don't know, I just think that's really cool. It's better than the stilted, standard Q&A. So
yeah, exactly. And, bringing things back and, the idea of being able to bring more of that bluesy influence onto the next Eternal Bleeding album. I mean, the fact that you took that creativity of trying that on the last album and wanting to be able to expand upon that. I mean, I love the fact that you actually did use that creativity and you want to be able to expand upon it and be able to incorporate it more into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I was afraid to do it. The first kind of bluesy thing that we did, I'll never forget it. The first kind of bluesy thing we did was the end of the song Corrupting Influence. I wrote that riff, and I wanted to present it to the band, and I was really nervous about it because it's a very bluesy riff, and it's very laid back, and here we go talking about fear again, right? I was afraid to show it to the band. I was like, this is too out of the IB realm, blah, blah, blah. You know what? And I said, fuck it, I'm going to show it, and I showed it to Chris McCarthy first, and he said to me, he looked at me and he says, that's fucking awesome, and oh god, I got such a charge at him when he said that, because he's all about the hard, fucking hard riffs and tough riffs, and I'm all about that too, but I thought he wouldn't want to do something like that, and I was afraid that he said, let's not do that, and he did it, and he said, yeah, let's do it, and it's just like, wow, and again, it's great because he allowed me, and the rest of the guys allowed me to let my creativity and my I don't know, my wild imagination go a little out of the box, and it's a good thing. Again, I'm just very fortunate to have people around me who encourage that.
Oh yeah, and I gotta imagine that helps with the creativity on the other side of that too. I mean, when you're able to come up with like a heavy, brutal riff, that you can use that, but if you also have an idea of something that's a little lighter and bluesier, the fact that you have been able to make that work before, and it's just a matter of how you can implement it in the future.
Right. And everybody on the last album, everybody's had an idea that they were kind of like, I don't know if I should present this to the band kind of thing. And I think we were all pretty encouraging about, maybe Kyle came up with something and we were all like, yeah, that's great. Let's play around with it and see where it goes. And it might not have been exactly where Kyle thought of it, but as a band, we took it to somewhere where all of us were like, wow, that's cool, So we all carry each other too, which is kind of neat.
Oh, totally. So with that in mind, I mean, obviously with the ideas of the next album and being able to throw in more of that blues influence, have you started coming up with ideas for the next album?
Yeah, we got a half an album done. Well, half an album. So our process is kind of weird. I usually go through like these crazy, like, I don't want to say like bipolar, but like a manic period. Usually I'll go through a manic period and I'll literally write 4 songs in 2 days. Okay. And then I present them to Chris, who's my partner, basically, my writing partner, and he'll listen to them and he'll go, yeah, this is great. And then Chris puts his input in, and we jostle it all together. And Chris writes, he says, let's get rid of this riff. Let's put in, I got a great riff that'll go here, and him and I bargain back and forth. And so we have 4 songs done, but now we're in a dry spell because I can't come up with anything. I'm banging my head against the wall. I have to do a guest solo for my friend's band, and I can hear a melody in my head and I can't put it onto guitar. And I'm in a really frustrating period right now. It's unbelievable. It's been like 5 months of writer's block. I've never had that. Usually if I have writer's block, I take a 3-hour shower. I sit in the shower for 3 hours and it unlocks itself. And nope, it's really maddening. But we got half an album done, so we can skate a little while until it comes back. I know it'll come back, and Chris is carrying the weight while I'm having this writer's block. He's diving in and he's fixing stuff and he's writing riffs and Ryan's coming up with stuff and Steve has ideas, so everybody's pitching in. I'm just having an awful time. I'm really having an awful time. It's just I'll get through it. It's just awful. I've never had something this long, really weird.
Oh, and it does happen to the best of us too. I mean,
of course it does. I mean, I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan, and I was reading about when they were trying to write Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and Tony Iommi couldn't come up with anything, and he got desperate. He shaved off his mustache. He chopped his hair. He did all kinds of crazy things trying to get his mojo back, And I almost feel like I'm in that position, trying to get my mojo back. But I'm not like panicked about it because I don't have to make a living doing it. I know it'll come back. It always does, but it's weird, it's weird. I've never had 4 or 5 months where I can't write anything. Like I write everything and it sucks. And I wrote, I wrote the skeletons of 4.5 songs, which is half the next album. And I hate it all, and Chris is like, no, dude, it's good. It's really good. Just got to tweak this, got to do this. It's really good, He's like, but I can't see anything. I mean, I haven't even been listening to music lately because nothing I listen to I like, It's like I'm in a weird spot. And I don't know what it is because I'm a happy guy. Maybe that's the problem, is maybe that I'm happy, Seriously, maybe I'm not happy. I'm not in a dark space or something, I don't know. I just don't know. Weird. But anyway, I'll get over it. I'm not worried about it. It's just a weird spot I've been in for the past couple of months.
Oh, yeah. And again, that happens to the best of us, and it's a weird time in life right now with everything that's going on in the world right now, and it's just true. Like I just imagine like everyone is like feeling things differently. Like there's some bands right now that once all this is over, they're gonna have like 8 albums worth of material that they're gonna be able to write for, and some people are gonna have that writer's block where they can't even come up with one riff that they're gonna be happy with. Everyone has
that's the joke that we all have with each other in the band right now. It's like we're all stuck at home. Chris lives with me. Okay, Chris is my tenant in my basement, and I can't come up with anything. And him and I work, and we're getting stuff done. No, it's not like we're not getting done, but our joke is like we have all this time off and nobody's coming up with anything. It's kind of weird. I have a lot of things. I can admit I have a lot of things to be like, I'm scared for my mom. My mom is 85 years old. There's this virus going around. I'm scared that I can, I'm worried about going to visit her, and that's weighing on me. That's really weighing on me. So I'm sure that has something to do with it, Not having a lot of human contact is definitely wearing on me because I don't get to share my humor. I share it online with my bandmates and stuff. It's not the same. It's not the I'm an in the moment guy. I'm a sit across from you and talk kind of guy, and I can't do that, and it's really affecting me, you know?
And, you know, for that reason alone, I'm so happy that we're able to do like an interview like this, so you can kind of have that coercion of being able to like get your thoughts out there, being able to have another voice to listen to, and, you know, just getting those emotions out there as well too, because it is that time when there is so much isolation that's going on. There's so much fear of what could happen if you leave and to go anywhere, to visit anyone, to any kind of public place at all. I mean, there's so much of that that's going on, and, you know, the fact that you know, technology has gotten to the fact that I can be here in Minnesota, you're over there on the East Coast, and, you know, we're able to coerce like this, just like you're sitting in front of me. I mean, that's such a great thing to be able to have in 2020.
It is awesome. It's totally awesome. It's not the same as exact face-to-face contact, but it's. I mean, this probably explains why this interview was me just with complete verbal diarrhea, because I feel like you and I are hanging out on my back deck, you know, and I'm drinking a bourbon, you're doing whatever you like, and we're just bullshitting together, you know. Which is, it's something I love, you know. I'm a bullshitter. This is what I do, you know. So like one of my biggest rituals is I have a cigar shop by me, and it's the same group of guys who go up there every day, you know, at a certain time, and you sit and you bullshit and you have a good time and you talk, you know. And I don't have that now because it's everything's so isolated, you know. And the cigar shop, who will not be mentioned because they're doing illegal things, opens every once in a while during this quarantine, you know, and we all sneak in there and hang out, you know, and smoke cigars and have a good time, you know. But I miss that one-to-one contact, you know, that let's hang out, let's just bullshit for 2 hours. You know, I miss it. And I've got my family around me, but it's not, you know, it's not the same. I mean, I bullshit with my family all the time, but it's not the same, you know. It's friends bring out a different vibe in you, you know.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, once all of this does eventually die down and things do get back to normal, just that first time being able to go back to that shop and just being able to hang out there and just feel like things are back to normal is going to be such a great feeling.
Oh yeah, that and getting on tour with my bandmates. I miss that, so I can't tell you how much I miss that, man. We literally laugh. We laugh from the moment we get the notice about the tour until the tour ends. It's just fucking laughter. I mean, we're just laughing the whole damn time, you know, and I miss that so much. I feel so alive when that's going on. There's never a dull moment, you know. Somebody's always being a comedian, you know, and you know, I always bring up my dad, and I'm bringing it up again. My dad was always like, you know, you gotta laugh at everything. You have to fucking laugh. You know, life is about joy and laughter, you know, and I miss that because there's not that my group dynamic where we're all just cracking up, making fun of everything on the planet, you know, as you know, off-color remarks, everything, you know, anything goes, and you know, and we just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. No, it's a great thing, you know, and I really miss it, and I'm sure that has something to do with my writer's block.
Oh yeah, I imagine the first time that you're able to get back together with them, you know, whether you're going over songs, whether you're practicing, whether you're getting things lined up for a show. I mean, as soon as that comes back and everything starts to come back to normal, that perfect riff is going to come out and it's going to make for an amazing song.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, man. I'm sure it will. You know, I mean, it's just a weird time we're all living in. You know, I tell my kids, I say, you know, this sucks, but we're living in history. This is like a historical event, you know, and I'm a big history buff. So to me, you know, with a little perspective, I'm like, wow, this is like history. This is amazing. This is going to be in history books. You know, some kid's 100 years from now, some kid's going to be reading about this in their, right, James, we're witnesses of history. That was my youngest son, you know, and that's kind of amazing, you know.
Oh, it really is. I mean, the fact that people are going to wonder how we overcame all of this, living in 2020 and just seeing all of this happen and being able to come out the other side. I mean, yeah, I think that's also going to come a lot from inspiration too, and creativity when it comes to all all forms of art, like music, movies, paintings. I mean, there's going to be so much that's going to be coming out in the human art form when all this blows over.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely. It's gonna be good when this all ends. It's gonna be good. There's gonna be a big rush of, I don't know what you want to call it, creativity, all kinds of stuff, business activity. It's gonna be great. I just hope it happens soon, because it's not, you can't keep a free people locked down forever. Eventually people are gonna start cheating on the ban, the quarantine and all that stuff. You just can't lock down human beings forever. They're born to be free, and this is hard for a lot of people. It's not just me or anything like that. So.
Oh yeah, and again, just like when things do get back to normal, and we're able to come out the other side of this, it's going to be so rewarding to be able to hear some new Eternal Bleeding when that comes out. Being able to see that you guys are getting on live shows and festivals and all these great things again, and just that just the fact that you guys are able to get back to normal, other bands are able to get back to normal, businesses, all these things, and just being able to play that very first show after all these things are going on.
I can't wait for that. That's exactly, that very first show after all this ends is going to be like a giant orgasm, I don't know how else to say it. It's going to be like a giant orgasm. I just hope I'm not too old of a man, when this ends, and I'm able to get back on the road. I'm pissed. I'm really mad because we had this year lined up. We had 2020 through 2021 lined up with the biggest stuff of our life. Cattle Decapitation Tour in Europe, and that got canceled. All these festivals in Europe that we've gotten on for this summer, and I've been trying to get on these festivals for years. We're on them, and I don't know if they're going to be canceled. And then we had a really big tour in August. I can't mention the band's name, but we were direct support for them, and looks like it's getting shit canned. Like, this was the biggest break that Internal Bleeding got, was this year, and it's like all to shit. And I'm like, oh my God, not again. Oh, it sucks.
Oh, it really does. But it's just, when I hear that, I mean, the fact that you were able to get these opportunities, I just see more of that happening when the next album comes out. I mean, once everything comes along with it, because if you're able to get that a couple years after the release of the latest album, I mean, the fact that you have a new album to be able to promote in the future, I think those opportunities are going to come back even stronger.
I hope so. I really hope so. We'll see. I just take it day by day. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Until then, it's just, it's great to see the position that you are in right now. You're still able to work. You're still able to be with your family. Once the writer's block does eventually go away, you're able to start writing riffs again, and you're able to still be able to live your life. And once everything gets back to normal and, everything goes the way that it's supposed to go, you're able to appreciate everything that you got going on in your life even more because of the times that we're living in right now. And I as long as everything goes the way that it's supposed to go, I think we're going to come out the other side of this even stronger because we have gone through all this, and I'm so excited to see what will happen in the future with your writing style and everything that happens with Eternal Bleeding when we get over this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's all we can do, right? Is make the best of the situation and come out better on the other side. Maybe, what, man? I'm not being spiritual, but maybe I am. Maybe this is like, maybe this is like some kind of message that we need to get back to being human again and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being caught up in the rat race and whatever. I'm trying to look at it as like maybe somebody. I'm not saying God or anything like that, but maybe somebody, some cosmic force is telling us, yo, slow the fuck down and appreciate what you have. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, exactly. I mean, that's the way I'm trying to look at it, too, because, it's hard not to wonder what's going to happen, how long this is going to take, all these things. But, yeah, I mean, when this eventually does die down and we're able to look back at this situation and realize that we overcame this, I think we'll be able to appreciate what we have so much more. I mean, the friends that we have, the family that we still have left, the way that we're able to make an income, for yourself, being able to have Eternal Bleeding is a great musical will escape, from the world, and just like all these great things that people do have. I think that we'll be able to appreciate those things so much more because it feels like that we could lose them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I hope people just remember it and are able to just appreciate that whatever they had their time with their family, their loved ones, their friends, and maybe we just all need to slow down and take a breath,
Yeah. I think
it's a tough thing because we all got bills to pay and all that stuff, and I get it, but sometimes you got to check out of the rat race and just be human.
Yeah, I think that's a great outlook to have with it. The fact that we're still here, we're still breathing, we still get this opportunity at life, and we're able to try to make something of it. I mean, especially if you're unhappy right now and all of this happened. I mean, if you come out the other side of this, I mean, I think it's more all the reason to be able to go after what you want to in life because of everything that's going on. And, like, if there's anything that you wanted to achieve, try to make that happen when the opportunity is available to go outside freely again, and all these different things. I mean, it's just like when we're trapped up like this, and when all this does die over, and we're able to appreciate life again, it's all the more reason to take advantage of it.
I think so. I mean, unfortunately, human beings are generally not. Generally don't have humility, so it's I'm sure everybody's going to be thankful for the first 2 weeks, and then it's going to be back to the usual bitching and complaining.
Sadly, that is true. I mean,
that is the
human mentality.
But that's what, man, that's the human condition, and so be it. I mean, you can't change it. You got to have the perspective, but you just can't change human nature. As we try left and right to coerce people out of human nature and this and that. You just can't change human nature. You just can't do it.
It's true. I mean, there's some people that are thinking right now they're going to be coming out on the other side of this, like, oh, I'm going to start that business, and I'm going to try to make these opportunities happen. And yeah, a couple weeks after all this is over and things get back to normal, their whole day is going to be ruined because the espresso machine was jammed at Starbucks, and they're not going to be able to think different.
Right. And that's it's funny that you say that. I have relatives who have been in wars, and they'll say something like, I might bitch about something minor, and they'll be like, until you have 3,000 Chinese running at you and you have no ammo, you have no problems, and you got to keep that in perspective. I mean, you really got to keep that in perspective. You have no problems. Somebody's not bearing down on you with a fucking gun and trying to kill you. You really don't have any problems,
Yeah, and it's just like it's so built up in your own mind, and people handle it so differently. I mean, some people are able to turn it into a positive outlook. Some people succumb to it, and they're not able to see a way out of their situations, no matter how minuscule or bad that it's built up in their mind. And there's people in between too, where it's just like they realize, oh, life sucks. It's not going to get any better, but I'm just going to keep going. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it, but again, with the human condition, it's just like everyone experiences problems in different ways. But yeah, when you experience war, when you experience that kind of thing where people are trying to kill you in the name of their country or their beliefs, and you're being held captive or whatever that case is. I mean, unless you experience those kind of haunting experiences, it can always get worse.
Right. Absolutely. It's crazy.
Oh, absolutely. But but again, I'm thankful that we're not in that situation right now. That neither of us have been in that situation. Hopefully, everyone listening to this hasn't been in that kind of situation.
God, right?
And they're able to just be able to hopefully progress with their lives because it's like we're fortunate to be in that position. Like most people listening to this, it's like we're not constantly living in fear of getting bombed or having troops come over here and enter our houses and slaughter our whole families. I mean, we're not in that situation, so we can try to better ourselves because we're in that situation where nothing is holding us back except for ourselves.
Right. And listen, I'm not a perfect human being by any man. Like I've said before, no human being is perfect. But my biggest thing is that we just, as individuals, we need to get over our fear and just not be afraid, or be afraid and use your fear to your advantage, and or confront your fear and just push through it, no matter how fucking awful it is. You know. It's. I'm telling you, the world would be a better place if all of us didn't live in fear of whatever. I'm not saying, it could be a little thing, it could be a big thing. Can't be afraid.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, and that's such a great thing to take to heart, and it's something I got to remind myself of all the time, and it's great being able to hear that perspective too. I mean, when you're able to hear it from other people, and just that idea that fear can control us, but if we can overcome it, we're able to control that fear whenever it does come up. Just like bringing things back to earlier. I mean, it's such a great thing to keep in mind, because fear is built up in ourselves, and if we're able to overcome ourselves, we're able to achieve so much more. And the fact that you were able to do it in the position that you were in, that means other people are going to be able to do that as well.
Absolutely. And I'm a person of average intelligence. I'm not smarter than anybody else. I'm not wiser than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I'm just an average IQ human being. It's that fear thing, I mean, Franklin Roosevelt, who I don't like, as a president, had the best line ever. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. I mean, that's fear is the thing you have to get over. It's what holds everything back.
It truly is. And yeah, again, the sooner that the individual and the collective of human beings are able to overcome that fear, I think there's so much more that we can achieve as a society, as individuals, and just being able to get past so many of the little things that do hold us back. But of course, there is the human condition, so it is a real catch-22 being able to balance all of that out.
Absolutely. But that's what makes I always say, I don't know if it's an intellectual question, but I always talk to people. I said, would you really want to live in a world where everything is perfect and there is no fear and there's no conflict or anything like that? Would you really want to live in that kind of world? You got to think about that, because I know my answer is no. I wouldn't want to live in a world that was like that, because that means everybody's thinking the same and everybody's an automaton and not an individual. So I don't know. It's like you said, it's the human condition. And that's what whether you're religious or not, that's what heaven's for. Heaven's for where everything's perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. You have to do the best with what you've got and what the world has to offer.
Oh, and I think with that, I think that's such an amazing note to be able to end on too, because I mean, that's such a great optimistic way to be able to look at things, and just being able to put that fear aside and know that there is that fear in life, and that's what's going to balance everything out. Having that fear and negativity in the world makes you appreciate the positivity and when things go right, and being able to balance everything and just being able to live life that way. And the more that you're able to do that, the more things can go in the direction that they're supposed to go. And
right.
With that, I'm so thankful that the lives that we lived have been able to lead to us talking for over an hour now, being able to have this great conversation about life, music, and everything in between, and just being able to have this great talk.
It's been awesome, man. This was like one of the best interviews I've ever done. I feel like I'm talking to one of my best friends. I love it. It's just great. Wow. Having a great time, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to me.
Oh, likewise, and those words, I mean, I truly do appreciate that, and the fact that I was able to make an impact like that, just being able to have like a real conversation. Yeah, it feels like we've been hanging out for years, being able to drink and smoke and being able to just enjoy life together, and it's the first time we've talked to each other on the phone. I mean, this is just incredible.
It's awesome. It's totally awesome, and this is like the beauty of underground death metal and things like that. It's like you have a friend everywhere you go. It's like I'm sure it's happened to you. You've walked in a mall or whatever, and you see a guy with like an autopsy shirt or whatever, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, he's my brother." It's like that kind of thing. It's just the coolest thing in the world. I can't explain it. It's like you're instantly friends. Every band I've ever been on tour with, it's like as some of the bands I've never met before, you know, and it's like, you see that t-shirt, you know what they're into, and you're like, yeah, we're brothers.
It's so true. And, you know, when you are able to have that kind of appreciation, especially for something like death metal, where, you know, it's just like, it's so low on the mainstream totem pole that when you find someone that's able to appreciate something like Autopsy or Bolt Thrower or Eternal Bleeding, you know, you're able to appreciate the fact that other people enjoy that, and you're able to have that kind of instant connection immediately.
Right, and not to be like, it's not a snobbish thing, but not to be like a snob. It's like we belong to like this elite club, you know, that most people, like all of us in the underground, know about all these bands. You know, I mean, we're well versed in all of them, but most people in the mainstream, I mean, come on, most people in the mainstream don't know who Mortal Decay is, or like Demonacy or something like that, but we all know. It's like our little secret, you know, so it's like a cool little club that we all belong to, which I think is just absolutely one of the coolest things on the planet.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, the fact we were able to have that connection when it comes to music, being able to talk about music like that, and, just being able to talk about the world in general, just from, you know, having that connection between death metal. I mean, it's such a great thing to be able to see that. And, you know, I think if the world is able to just have that appreciation more, and, you know, you're able to find something to be able to enjoy together, like death metal, whatever the case is, you know, it's just like having that human interaction, being able to have that connection, people would be so much happier.
Right, absolutely, man. Totally agree with you, brother.
Well, awesome. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for spending all this time being able to talk to me. I mean, this has been a hell of a great time, and this has been one of the most fun interviews I've done in a very long time, just being able to have this real conversation, and, you know, just, being real and authentic, and just being able to understand each other so well, and just, being able to see where we're coming from on both sides, and, you know, just having that connection together, and being able to spread the good word of Eternal Bleeding, death metal, underground music, all these great things.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.